Good morning. This is Kenny Tan speaking, and welcome to the Real Biz Academy. Who else is here? Well, I got quite a number. I got Hannah, Justin, Kevin, Maria, and Howard Xiao. Thank you all for coming. I got 4 items lined up for you today. The 4 topics are, all right, Nick, thank you for showing up as well. As you know, this live stream is recorded. If for whatever reason you have to miss this one, don't worry, everything will be stored on YouTube. Okay, and I expect a low turnout today because of mainly because of the holiday and the long weekend. But that's okay. Oh wow, Gene Riley is here too. Wow, thank you so much. I'll be talking about 4 topics today. The first topic is about how to drive traffic from Twitter using the search engine, Twitter search engine, and hashtags. We'll talk about that. And then I'm also going to be talking about how to win friends and influence people. This is one of the skills that I have to constantly go back and refer to, because I think part of being successful in sales is to know how to win friends and influence people. We are in the influencing business, so it is very, very important that we develop the skills. For those of you that are in my Fremont office, and if you're still with Centermac, if you might remember a few years ago, we had a training course on how to win friends and influence people. And I still have the book, so I go back and refer to it from time to time. Who else is here? All right. Okay, Sam, welcome. I appreciate you showing up. If you are watching the YouTube live stream, please pop into WeChat, the chat room, so I know you're here. Okay. And the third topic that we're going to be talking about will be on how to prepare a letter of intent. So if you are representing a prospective tenant who is interested in renting a warehouse, I think you might be interested in knowing that there is actually a certain way to present your offer. It's not like your other offer. All right. Okay, well, maybe somebody is not, let's see, what seems to be the issue? Sound quality? Is everybody hearing me okay? I wanted to make sure of that. If you are not hearing me okay, I need to know. Otherwise, I'm assuming everything is fine. Okay, but I think the sound quality should come out good, no? All right, we got Lean. Thank you, thank you. And we got TM here. Thank you so much. And we got Feng Jiao. And let's see, sound is good. Thank you, Jin. Thanks for letting me know. Good. All right, great. So the 4 items that we're going to be talking about is the San Diego Association of Realtors, MLS. And one reason I wanted to talk about the MLS is because it is very similar to the MLS system for Bay East, because both uses Paragon. So if you are in the Bay Area, it is also a system that you should learn how to use in case next time you decided to switch to Paragon. If you ask me preferences, I really don't have any preference at all. When I was signing listings all over California, I used to learn every single MLS listing I could learn. Some of the MLS listing, like San Francisco Association of Realtors MLS listings, it's unique and it's not easy to maneuver. But today we're talking about San Diego Association of Realtors, which is Paragon. That is something that I am familiar with. Okay, let's go ahead and get started. I got a new system now, so I can now navigate freely using shortcut. Okay, so first thing we're gonna talk about is Twitter. So I gotta go to my share screen mode. Okay. Oh, okay, that's not share screen. So share screen is this one right here. I'm gonna give it number 4. So I have, okay, so I got 4. All right, so we're in share screen mode, and let me resize this thing so it's showing me just by myself, okay, and showing me white screen. So okay, great. So this one here, let me get rid of this stuff. Okay, so now it's just me talking to you at the lower left hand corner. We can still enjoy the rest of the screen. Okay, now first thing I'm going to show you is Twitter. I think, oh, Brian, thank you for coming. I appreciate that. So for Twitter, many years ago, in fact, I opened up my Twitter account back in 2010, 11 years ago, when I was still an attorney. But frankly, I wasn't really good in social media. I only started to learn about social media when the pandemic started. I kind of ignored my Twitter account, ignored my Facebook, Instagram, WeChat, whatever social media platform that perhaps you guys are more familiar than I was. But lately, I've been doing a lot of work on social media. I'm learning, and I want to share with you some of the things that I learned. Before I go into Twitter, let's go ahead and look at my YouTube account, and then you can understand why. All right, so we are in share screen mode. Okay, share screen mode, great. So let's go ahead and look at my YouTube account so you can better appreciate why I'm paying more attention to social media now. See, I decided that I want the majority of the traffic to go to our YouTube account for a couple of reasons. One of the reasons is I'm getting the hang of creating a very strong SEO for our YouTube accounts. So much so that, if I can make it work for the Chinese channel, I feel like I can make it work for the English channel. Now let's go ahead and look at the English channel. Okay. All right. So this is our English channel is known as the Real Biz Academy. Okay. So let's go ahead and look at this channel. I want to show you a couple of insights. So let's go to just a couple of videos I want to show you. Why is it I'm talking about Twitter today? As you know, Twitter is a social media. Okay. Now let's look at this one, because if you go into YouTube and if you look at the analytics, you'll be able to see, you click reach, and you'll be able to see where the traffic is coming from. I don't have a lot yet because we got a small channel at the moment. Now, if you look at the middle of the page, you see LinkedIn and Twitter. So I actually posted the same video on LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm pretty sure if I post it on Line or WeChat, I will get some traffic from there. But I wanted to show you that the nice thing about posting it on Twitter is I can actually track the traffic. Okay, just to show you an example. Another example I want to share with you is this one right here. Let's go to this other, I think Lily's video. This one also shows there was traffic coming from Twitter. Okay, I posted it on Twitter, and somebody must be watching it from Twitter, or else it won't show up as a traffic source. Okay, now this one actually got pretty good click-through rate, is 6.7%. Okay, we're getting better with the thumbnail design. Okay, and if you look at the traffic source, this is actually external. External means it's not coming from YouTube. It's coming from outside. This one has Facebook as the external source and Twitter as the external source. For whatever reason, I did not get any traffic from LinkedIn. Normally, I would get some traffic from LinkedIn. So now, as you can see, as we grow our YouTube channel, we're going to rely on we're going to rely on our SEO on YouTube. For a long time, I have ignored on the English channel, and I'm just beginning to spend more time on it, to build on it. And I gained 4 subscribers in the last 3 days. For me, that is news for the Real Biz Academy, because normally I don't get back-to-back subscriber increase. But in the last 4 days, as I publish more videos, I see that there is an increase in the subscriber count. So very encouraged by that. So let's go ahead and go to Twitter. And if I go to Google and type in Twitter search, right? Twitter is becoming a pretty good search engine, I might add. So if you look at Twitter, okay? Now, this is coming from Google, so immediately it takes me into the Explore page. You notice that the symbol next to the Explore page is the hashtag symbol. The idea about hashtag actually started from Twitter back in 2007. But, I was a total stranger to Twitter. I hardly pay attention to social media. So I did not exactly know how hashtag would work to help me, but lately I'm beginning to appreciate it. If I want to hashtag, now I'll show you one of the hashtags that I use. Okay, I use this hashtag. It's called Bay Area Real Estate. Okay. All right, so just put the pound sign in front of the keyword that you're searching. Make sure you don't have any spaces between words, or else it's not going to work as a hashtag. So this is a hashtag is known as Bay Area Real Estate. Reason I use this hashtag is that I think I've done some keyword research on YouTube. It's a pretty good keyword. So if I click on it, Bay Area. I miss a letter R, I think. Bay Area. I miss a letter R. That's why it's not showing up. Okay, now if I press return on it, you're gonna see Lily's video shows up, and then you're gonna see Kathleen's video shows up. Okay, so that's using hashtag to search on Twitter. But if I just want to use a keyword to search on Twitter, for example, I want to search Pleasanton Realtor, okay? As you know, Kathleen is a Pleasanton Realtor. If I search Pleasanton Realtor, you see her video will show up, okay? Now, another thing is on the bottom right, you should be able to see the analytics. The analytics will tell you, will give you a little bit of information about the performance of your tweet. This is obviously brand new. I just posted it yesterday, so there's not much reaction yet. So another reason I don't get much reaction is because maybe the followers, my followers, usually, unless people find me through a hashtag in big number, I'm probably not going to see much engagement at all. But I want to show you one that I have a little bit of engagement. How about try this one? San Diego real estate, right? You see this one right here? This is actually our video that I posted. This one has 2 likes. You see that? Okay, that's what I mean by engagement. Okay. Yep. So and then you can look at the performance, and it says here media views is one. That means somebody clicked on the media. It might be me, it might be somebody else, but somebody certainly did. But the impression, so far there are only 47. Okay, not a big number. Okay, and then of course you can view all engagement. The engagement is important because you gain some insight. Okay, you got one media engagement, two likes, three link click. That's pretty good. Okay, so three link click. All right, click on the URL or card in this tweet. Okay, three link click. Okay, total engagement I had 6 on this one. uh, I think that eventually if I pay more attention to my Twitter account, which I intend to have my VA work on a daily basis, my currently my virtual assistant, her name is Mariella. I'm having her manage my Instagram, Pinterest, and LinkedIn. And soon I will add Twitter. So she will be managing Twitter, Pinterest, Instagram, and LinkedIn for me. And one of the things that I want to do with my Twitter account is to engage more with my followers, and also to increase my follow. And the way to encourage my follow is to interact with people. And certainly that ties into one of the principles that we're learning. Hello, Joe. Thanks for coming. Now that ties into one of the things we're going to learn. One of the principles we're going to learn today is to how to win friends and influence people. Certainly, I hope you appreciate it. In order to gain followers, you either must follow a certain number of people or you must interact with certain people. If you start interacting with them, you're going to find that they start interacting with you, and soon they decided that you should be followed, and so they'll follow you. And the more followers you have, the more interaction you're gonna get whenever you post something interesting. Certainly, I don't want to be posting everything about real estate all the time. So if you want to be successful in social media, one thing I find is the quickest way to alienate people in your social media platform is to constantly bombard them with real estate. You're going to lose them after a while. And I learned that the hard way, in managing or mismanaging my Facebook account. I think if I properly manage my Facebook account, it can be a more successful platform the way it is. Okay. Now, if you're going to be posting things like just listed or just sold or offer accepted, that kind of news in your social media, you have to kind of make it interesting though. Don't just say just listed and then you put in the address, the number of bedrooms, number of baths, the listing price, and then you as the listing agent or as the selling agent. Uh, it can be more interesting or more engaging if you tell a story. If you got a story to tell a story. For example, oh my God, this one we got 30 offers and my seller didn't know what to do. And then you kind of share with them, well, how did you manage so many offers and how did you come up with the right buyer for their property? I think it's more interesting that way than to just constantly bombard people with just this or just so, which after a while will seem so boring and uninteresting. Okay. In fact, I told my admin staff stop doing that anymore. We stopped doing that for over 6 months now. We don't do that kind of stuff now. If I do post something about just listed or just sold, you can bet that I'm gonna write a story about it. I'm gonna make it interesting. What is it so unusual about this just listed or just sold? Okay, so that's what it is. All right, so much about Twitter, and there are a couple of other things I want to share with you, which may or may not have something to do with Twitter, but it could have something to do with Twitter. Is keyword research. I know some of our agents are starting to do English videos. I know Kathleen is doing that. Judy is doing that. I think it will help them in their career, because why limit yourselves to only certain ethnic group when you're trying to be a salesperson? A salesperson uh, should work with many different people with different background. They should be versatile. So this is one of the video that Kathleen did recently, and it's her first English video. And I put in some keywords to make her rank on the first page of Google. You're probably interested in finding out what this keyword is. Okay. The keyword is, and it's a long tail keyword. See, when you're starting to rank, if you want to rank your video, when you're a small channel, you have to use long tail keywords. If you use the short ones, before you becoming a big channel or before you become successful, your video is not going to rank. You're wasting your time. You might as well rank for something you can rank for. So this one will say, is 2001 the time to sell your home in Bay Area? Okay, so that's the keyword I target for this video. And I'm doing a Google search on it. And then you're going to see, voila, Kathleen's video ranked #1 on the carousel. And it ranks on the first page, and it is in second position. So that's pretty good. So if the same keyword, if I use it on Twitter, right? So if I use the same keyword on Twitter, see what happened. All right, so I'm going into the explore page, this page right here, and I'm not even gonna try to use. There's no need for me to use a hashtag because it's just a long tail keyword. All right. All right. Is 2001 the time to sell your home in Bay Area? See, her video will show up, right? And then, if you want to know how fantastic this keyword is.
Thank you for having me here, Kenny.
Okay, anyway, that's how you make use of the search engine on Twitter and on Google. Right now, I'm not doing too well on Instagram because Instagram, to me, is not a good as a search engine as Twitter. Remember, there was Twitter first before there was Instagram. Even though these days there are more users on Instagram than there are on Twitter and Pinterest. LinkedIn is coming up. LinkedIn has almost the same number of users as Instagram. So that's why I have my VA manage my LinkedIn account as well. It's easier to make connections. It's easy to make connections on LinkedIn. I can easily add 20 connections a day. Okay. Of course, there's no point adding connections on LinkedIn unless you plan on interacting with them. Okay. All right. Okay, so let's go on and go on to the next topic. So that is how you make use of Twitter as a search engine. It actually is a pretty good search engine, I might add. There are less Chinese speaking users or Mandarin speaking users on Twitter and on Instagram as well, and on Pinterest as well. But if you have good English content, these are 3 platforms you should take advantage of. It's free anyway. You can run promotions, but I don't run promotions. I don't, even for YouTube these days, I don't run promotions hardly. I only run promotions when I'm doing YouTube videos for some of our new home showings. Otherwise, I don't. I think that the free ones are just as good as the advertisement ones. I actually gained pretty good number of subscribers just through search engine optimization. Engine optimization is really, really the key. Okay. All right. Now let's move on to the next topic. Next thing I'm going to be talking to you about, and I will leave the screen share for a while and come back to this one here. All right. Okay. Now I can talk to you face to face. And today's principle on how to win friends and influence people is, give sincere appreciation. Give sincere appreciation. That is the second principle that I'm sharing with you guys for a long time. It's easy to forget, even I myself, I'm not very good at that. So I have to constantly go back and read the book. uh, and the name of the book is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Dale Carnegie. That is a classic, and there are some great principles in there. If you can command those principles, you're gonna be better with people. Which, by the way, I suck at dealing with people, so I am learning myself. Okay, so I'll give a good example. Everybody wants to feel sort of important, you know. Sometimes, when people announce certain things to you, they want you to acknowledge it. Oh, my daughter just graduated. Oh, wow. Oh, my so and so, something that is important to them. People post things like that on. Let me turn my cell phone off. Sorry about that. I forgot to turn it into airplane mode. Okay, now it is in airplane mode. When people bother to post something in social media, they want to show some happy moments in social media. You have to acknowledge them. If you start acknowledging them, then they will start acknowledging you. It's not the other way around. The other way around doesn't work. If you wait for people to start acknowledging you before you start acknowledging them, that is not the right approach. I think if you start caring for people, people will start caring for you. I'll share a few things with you. Some of you might be thinking, well, Kenny, you've been getting listings or you've been getting buyers leads. Where did you get them from? It's not from one of the videos I make with you, is it? Well, my answer to you is it's not. It's actually from my own hard work. I currently have about 1,300 subscribers for my Chinese real estate license and loan license training channel. And a lot of times these students, they will add me on WeChat because it's Chinese, so they get my QR code for WeChat. And they would add me on WeChat. And sometimes, in fact, oftentimes, they will ask me questions. Now, these questions, to you, it might not be as important, but to them it means a lot. I'm asking you a question. Why do you ignore me? So I can't ignore them. So this is how you build relationships. So one of the things you do, if you decided that whatever the platform that you want to be involved in, it can be LinkedIn, it can be WeChat, it can be Instagram, it can be Twitter. You got to engage with people. Now, if you don't have time to do that, you got to hire somebody to do that for you. And that's why I hire VA, because this VA, they are excellent. They take care of my social media platform for me, and the rest is history. On WeChat, unfortunately, it's on my cell phone, so I have to kind of do it myself. So people want to feel important. So I got questions all the time. I got people adding me, not just in California. I got people adding me from all over the United States, and I have to interact with them. So this is my daily routine. So I will interact with, let's say, I decide on a given number. I'll interact with 10 people today. Okay, every day, daily, I interact with 10 people. I actually use my WeChat as a sort of as a customer relation management device. So, on WeChat, when you have that conversation, the older ones will sink to the bottom, and the new ones is actually at the top. So if you have the habit of starting from the bottom daily, eventually all this conversation is going to get fresher and fresher and fresher. And when the people want to buy a house or they want to sell their house, they remember you. So, in 7 levels, one of the things we learn is you got to give to receive, okay? And, I am learning to give plenty so I can receive in plenty, okay? So that's the principle that we learn from this book. And next week we'll learn a new principle, all right? So let's move on to the third topic for the day. Third topic for the day has to do with the letter of intent. So let me go to my screen sharing mode, okay? All right, okay, number 4 is my screen sharing mode. I want to talk about letter of intent because, sometimes, not always, you will find yourself needing to prepare a letter of intent. When do you use a letter of intent? You use a letter of intent when there is no standard form for your offer. For commercial lease, you can certainly prepare a standard form lease and send it to the other side. That works too. But over 50% of the time, if you represent a tenant looking for a warehouse, after you have located the warehouse, you want to submit an offer. Hello, Libby. How are you? Thanks for coming. All right. Okay. So I think she meant hello, team. Okay. All right. She so it is just a precursor to a formal lease because negotiating a commercial lease is very different from negotiating a residential lease. Even though these days residential lease is getting more and more complicated, but we are more used to using the standard lease that we get from the zip form, okay, for residential. But commercial, you start with an LOI. Residential, we usually don't use LOI. So let's go ahead and go into my LOI. Let's see if I can find it here. I thought I downloaded that. I thought I downloaded it. Apologize for that. Okay. Let's see. Let's see if I can. Hold on a second, okay? Let me get it from my email. LOI. Good. All right. Okay. How about this one? Okay. Now, if you can see my screen, hopefully you can because I think I'm in share mode right now, right? Okay. Now, if you see my screen, this is what an LOI looks like. So on the LOI, usually I email it to the listing agent. So it's got the listing agent's name, and then this is actually to buy a property, but the LOI to buy a property will be very similar to an LOI to lease a property, but since the example I'm giving you is to buy a property, we might as well talk about the LOI to buy a property. When you want to make an offer on a warehouse, there are two ways to go about it. You can use a car form. These days, commercial real estate agents are becoming more and more comfortable with using car form. So oftentimes you can use the car form instead of the LOI. But if you want to use the LOI, that's fine too. So the LOI will work. Okay, so this is one I prepared for one of our agents. So you got the listing agent's name, and then you got the property address, and then the subject, you simply say LOI. And then it says, this office now represents whatever the buyer's name is in relation to the proposed purchase of the reference property from your client, the seller. And then it also says the purpose of this letter is to further set forth our client's intention to purchase the property and to set forth the terms and conditions for such purchase. We use the same language all the time, but this is for purchase. If it is for a lease, you will simply change it. Buyer will be replaced by tenant, and seller will be replaced by, actually buyer I usually use lessee, and seller I usually use lessor. And then on the last part of the paragraph, you will say for such lease, intention to purchase, the word purchase is replaced with the word lease. But for purchase, it will simply say purchase. And then the property description, you can go ahead and it will say the property to be purchased is an existing industrial property. Now, if it's a warehouse, we will call it existing industrial property. Consisting of what? So you need to kind of generally describe what kind of properties it is. In this case, it's two freestanding buildings. Okay. Now, I get this description often from the listing itself. If whatever the description the listing gives me, that's the description I'm going to use. It makes it easy. So I just kind of copy and paste from the description on the listing onto my LOI. So the listing says two freestanding buildings. A front building approximately 26,500 square feet. Okay. And back building approximately 12,316 square feet. This is all from the description on the listing. And it is on a 1.86 acre lot. Typically for commercial, we will put in the approximate size of the lot, okay, to make it easy for people to understand how big of a lot this is. And for commercial, we pretty much always put in the APN number. And you can get the APN number from one or two places. You can get it from the listing, or you can get it from Realist Tax, okay? Because it does have the property address, so you go to Realist Tax, you should be able to find it. Purchase price, so this is the offer price is $5.1 million. So usually when I draft the LOI, I'll have the price in just the number and also in words. So make sure that the parentheses, the information in parentheses matches what's in the actual number. So it's 1 million. Sometimes if I'm not careful, they are not consistent, so that won't be good. So this one says 5,100,000. So this is exactly 5,100,000. Terms of purchase, in this case, it happens to be a cash deal, so I'll say all cash. But if it's financing, you will say, 80% LTV, conventional loan or something like that. So the seller knows what kind of financing you're getting. The deposit will just be the deposit. The deposit will just be the deposit, whatever the amount is. Typically, I use 3%. It can be higher or lower depending on your situation. And the language doesn't change. You can actually use a template and just copy and paste the same language regarding deposit. And most of the time, after the LOI is accepted, the buyer and the seller, most of the time, they use the AIR form. That's why this one says AIR standard offer agreement and escrow instructions. And then it says the remaining purchase price shall be deposited in escrow by wire transfer no fewer than 3 days prior to closing. Usually it will specify just briefly, when the rest of the purchase price will go into escrow. That's part of the deposit clause. And then this one will say escrow and title companies. And then in this case, I'm a buyer, so I indicate seller's choice. But you can indicate whatever escrow company you want to indicate on your LOI. Typically, we use 3 business days to open an escrow after the formal contract is signed. Not after the LOI is signed, but after the formal contract is signed. Okay. And then the title policy, it will state that it will be CLTA. And then the buyer have the option for additional cost of buyer. This is pretty standard. Contingency, I think all you need to state is just standard contingencies, unless you have specific contingencies you want to put in there. Due diligence period, for commercial, 45 days is not unusual. It's pretty common. Okay. All right. Somebody has a question? No. Warning. Thank you for joining. All right. Closing date. In this case, we chose 15 days after removal of all buyer's contingent. So it sounds like a 60-day escrow. Title and standard language in here says that shall be conveyed to buyer by grant deed, subject only to such covenants, conditions, and other matters of record as approved by the buyer. It's pretty standard. Closing costs, you have to put in who's going to pay for taxes. And in this case, it's actually prorated. And transfer taxes and fees, usually seller pays for it, so your LOI will indicate that. Title insurance, all title insurance policy shall be paid by the seller, except that buyer will pay for any upgrade from CLTA to ALTA. That's pretty standard language. Escrow charges or fees. Escrow charges and fees shall be split 50-50. This is pretty standard way of doing business in Southern California. Okay. Brokers and commissions. It is, paragraph 12 is very important because normally in a standard contract, sometimes we don't put in the agent's commission. So it's important to make it clear how much you want. In this case, we're asking for 3%. That seems like a lot. I'm sure the other side is going to renegotiate the 3% that I propose. And then this one will talk about proof of funds. So we were in the process of preparing the proof of funds, which will be submitted 3 business days of acceptance. So that was good. And then on the 14th, we're asking the seller to provide all existing architectural and engineering plans. It is very common for the buyer to make such a request for commercial purchase. And then that's pretty much all the essential terms. Sometimes there may be 1 or 2 important things that I miss, but if I miss something important, I'm sure the other side will propose to add it to the counter LOI. Sometimes they'll do a counter LOI before we enter into a formal contract. And then the remainder part is actually pretty standard, so you copy and paste. Okay. And then here you got me and my other agent. And then over here, this is signature block for the buyer's agent. And below is the signature block for the seller's agent. The seller's agent actually can sign the LOI. We don't need the seller to sign the LOI. So this is what the LOI looks like. Okay. All right, so that's it for LOI. Now let's go ahead and move on to San Diego. Association of Realtors, MLS. So let me go ahead and key in my login. See, San Diego has its own MLS. San Diego is not part of the CRMLS. The CRMLS only covers the greater Los Angeles area, not including San Diego. So if you're going to have a listing in San Diego, you need to learn how to use the San Diego Association of Realtors MLS. So it's not like, if you learn how to use CRMLS, you're all set. No. Down south, the San Diego MLS is separate from the CRMLS. Up north, it's a little different. If you go to the Bay Area, the MLS system is now unified and consolidated. So in other words, in the Bay Area, you got Bay East Association of Realtors, you got the MLS listing. I think even the San Diego Association of, the San Francisco Association of Realtors MLS is now unified. I think all of them are unified now in the Bay Area. So, you don't have to learn all the different systems. You just need to learn one system. But down south in Southern California, it's different though. You got to learn each system separately, or else, you don't know how to navigate. So today I'm just going to briefly show it to you so you at least know how to navigate within the MLS. Okay. All right. So I am in here. So once you are in here, you can click a Paragon. Okay. If you click Paragon, it'll take you into the San Diego Association of Realtors MLS. And because you are part of, now if you're not a member of the association, I think you probably will be able to access Paragon from CRMLS, except that I'm not sure if they will let you put any new listings on Paragon. You may have to pay extra. You may have to pay a la carte, which is, some amount of charge per listing. Now see my name here, Kenny Tan, and then because I'm entering it as a member of the San Diego Association of Realtors, you see the SDAR link right here. So I want to add a listing, so I go to add listing, residential, right? And then in here, this is where you input it. Okay, now you can you have different options. You can either do coming soon or active. Just be familiar with the rules and regulations concerning coming soon. So this stage you have an option now. You can do coming soon, but if I'm not planning to do coming soon, I'll just do active. So I'll click active. Okay. Coming soon is just coming soon though. See, when it's coming soon, make sure you learn about the clear cooperation policy, which is something that I wasn't familiar with until I learned about it a couple of months ago. So it says here listing, it will automatically populate your name in here. Okay. Now this will be under the Centermac SD office. Listing date assuming is today. So I'm going to put June 1st. Okay. And then expiration, usually we sign a 6 months, right? So it'll be December 31st. Let's say I'm just giving you an example here. And SD, one thing that is interesting in SD is one of the few MLS listing where they actually allows you to use a price range for your listing. So in this case, you can indicate yes or no. If I say no, I just get one price to put. But if I want to put a range, I can't. If I say yes, then I can go ahead and state the range. Let's say, for example, I decided to do a range on this one. So SD actually allows me, okay, I go 600,000 low, okay, and then high, let's say 650. Okay, I don't know how this one is gonna come out. So this is 650. Now let me change that. All right, 600. Remember that SD is one of the few MLS that allows you to state a range. Okay, I've never used a range in my listing price, so I'm just sharing this information with you. APN number, I'll input whatever APN number this is, and I'll get that from information that I get from the property information. Once I have the address, I can go into realist text and get the APN number. And the address, you go ahead and put in the street number right here, and then you go ahead and put in the street name right here. Since I'm not doing it for real, I'm gonna skip that one. So I think my strategy when I try to do an MLS listing, if I want to put an MLS listing on Zillow as quickly as I can without wasting a lot of time, I usually will just go ahead and satisfy the minimum, which is the one in red where it says R. R means required. So anything else that is not an R, I'll skip them for now. Unless I have extra time, it's always a good thing to put in as complete information as you can. But if you're a busy person, the minimum is just the R. City will be just the city, whatever the city is within the San Diego area. Now, if I have one that says San Diego, so I'm just gonna type in, all right, so this is San Diego, County of San Diego. So I'm gonna type in San Diego as well, okay? Zip code is whatever the zip code is. You just go and input here. And state is, of course, California. And then community, you have to get this information from other source, okay? You can, I usually get it from, I don't know where Jean gets hers, but Jean, put in the chat room where you get your community information in San Diego. If I want to know about community information, I'm sure there is relevant information that you can get from another place. Okay. All right. Neighborhood, same thing. If I want to know what neighborhood this is, I usually get it from secondary source. Cross street, usually you put in the name of the cross street. Number of bedrooms, usually if you do the text autofill, you see this button right here? I'm not showing it to you, but if I use the text autofill now I'll show you the text autofill so you have some idea. This is text autofill. The text autofill will give me the required information by populating the boxes. Okay, I can do the text autofill, but since I don't have it's called the CRS text autofill. You get it from here by putting it. You can put in the R means you have to state the county. In San Diego, they have different counties, so make sure you put in the right county here, and then you can go and input either the APN number, which is the text ID, or you can put in the street number, whatever the information that you need to get the text autofill. You go ahead and do it here. Otherwise, you just go ahead and click out. Okay. Otherwise, you're going to have to input it manually. Usually, I just like to do the text autofill. It saves me a lot of time. And number of bedroom by autofill. I don't have to fill in, but you can also do it manually. Number of bathrooms, number of bedrooms, number of bedroom, number of baths. Let's see what Jean has to say. Jean has more information than I do. She's in the San Diego area. Okay, Jean. I don't know if I can show you this thing on the screen. Oh, now I'm back. From the old listing for community and neighborhood. If all fail, you can check with your title company. Hey, you know what? Title company will provide very good resource for that. So I think, yeah, usually I just get it from the old listing, to be honest with you. I'm kind of lazy, so I get it from the old listing. But certainly the title company would love to provide you with information like that because they want to provide value to you, so you'll use their services. So go to your title company to get information like that. Okay? All right, let's go on and go back to here. Let's see here. Says here, estimated square foot. You know, if you do the text autofill, I think it's automatically filled in for you, so you don't have to do it. You just have to double check it. Even the year built, do it by autofill. Compensation to buyer's agent, to buyer's broker. You know, this is what your split is to the buyer's agent. These days in Southern California, 2% is quite normal, especially in this seller's market. In Northern California, I don't know about the situation in Northern California now. Is it still 2.5%, or you guys are going down to 2% now? Okay, so okay, if it's 2%, put down 2%. Or it can be in terms of dollar amount, but I think if you type in the percentage, you know what the dollar amount is. Okay, and then you have to state here whether or not you have variable compensation. What that means is, if you have dual variable, sometimes a seller might negotiate with you and ask you to charge a lower commission if you represent both the buyers and the sellers. That means you might be charging the seller 5%, or maybe something lower, like 4% or so, or even something even lower if you represent both the buyer and the seller. That is called dual variable. Okay. And limited service, now we don't do limited service. Entry only, we also don't do entry only, but you know, if you do need to do entry only, you can certainly do that. It's yes or no. Entry only means, let's see, Jean, what is it? 2% is common now. I even got that was 1.75. Of course, these days, you know what? Listing agents are kings and queens. Even what you can get away with 1.75%. Okay. Now let's go ahead and go down. Limited service. Most of the time, it is no. Okay. If you charge full service, it's going to be no here and no on the limited service. Short sale. If it is a short sale, you check yes. If it's a standard sale, you will just check no on the short sale because it's just a yes or no. VOW always say yes. This has to do with syndication and whether or not you want your listings be known on the internet. I always check yes on the VOW and the internet syndication. IDX is all, see, by default, it's always yes. Internet address, I don't see why you want anything less than a full address, so you certainly use the full address. Okay. AVM, all this thing is, it's all about allow comment, reviews, and everything. It's all going to be yes, unless you have a reason not to check yes on this. Residential style, You know, this one usually I get it from realist text because the realist text contains the information about the residential style. Is it ranch or is it contemporary or whatever it is? You go ahead and indicate that. These are the only, oh no, this is actually the residential style. It means the type of title that you have. So if it's a attached, like a condo, detached is like a single family residence. A modular home is more like a manufactured home. To be honest, I don't know the difference between modular home and manufactured home. I'm sure there is a difference. I just usually treat them as the same thing. Mobile home could be the same thing as a manufactured home. I don't know what row home is. Never used that before. Townhome, yes. And I don't know what twin home is. I promise you, I'll find out what they are and I'll share with you the next time. Okay. All right. Listing type usually is exclusive right to sell. So you'll be exclusive right. So you click the appropriate choice. Age restriction. Sometimes some community has 55 years or older. You will only check yes. See, like this one says 56, 55 and up. It's actually 55 and up or 62 and up, depending on whatever the age restriction is. If there is none, you will just click NK. NK means not known or other. Because it is a mandatory selection, so you got to respond to it. Okay. NK means not known, so I'll click NK over here. All right. So the rest is all optional, and then until you come into general, if you go into general, you have some mandatory ones that you have to deal with. For example, the square footage, usually this is auto-populate. Oh, square footage source, you have to indicate the way you get it. Usually it's public. So you come in here and you just check public records. Most of the time, this is the right choice. Sometimes it's not from the public. Sometimes it's from the seller. For example, the seller wants you to advertise it at 3,000 square feet when the public record shows 2,500 square feet. The reason the seller might do that, it has to do with the fact that it will actually encourage some buyers to pay more money for it if the buyers think that they're buying a bigger square footage. It's actually a better marketing strategy. You make whatever disclosure you need to make, but if the actual square footage is 3,000 and the permitted one is only 2,500, there is nothing wrong with advertising it as 3,000 as long as you make the appropriate disclosure. In this case, the appropriate disclosure might include the source. The source, you will have to say something like you will have to say owner if it comes from the owner. Okay, whatever the source is, you just put in the appropriate information. Levels basically says how many story you got, so you put in whatever number of levels is in. Master bedroom dimension. In Paragon, they actually do require you to put in the dimension, how big the master bedroom is, and it's a required item. So where do you get that information? You can either measure it yourself or get it from the previous appraisal report or get it from previous listing, like Gene Riley said, and then just kind of rough estimate it when you're out there on the property. Make sure that you're providing the right information. Okay, now let's go down to the mandatory one. Dining room dimension, you go ahead and put one in here. Family room dimension, kitchen dimension, living room dimension. You notice the big difference between the CR MLS and San Diego Association of Realtor MLS is that CRMLS does not require to provide the dimensions of the rooms, whereas the Paragon does. All the Paragon system, including the one up north, they all require you to put in the dimensions for the rooms. Parking, garage spaces, you just indicate how many spaces you have for parking. And parking non-garage space, sometimes it's non-garage, like a carport. So you have to indicate. So if you have, carport, if you have 0 garage space, then 0. And then you have 1 carport, you put in 1 carport here. Lot size, usually you get that from your autofill, from your tax record. Lot size source, usually it will say public record. Usually, it's very rare that you get it from another source. Most of the time it's public though. It could be whatever source it is, okay? Sometimes it's title company, it's possible. And lot size, you can say estimated. Now, if you don't have, sometimes it's city or county rec. Most of the time it is. All right, so let's move on to the next item here. Features. So let's go ahead and look into feature and see what are the mandatory items. So mandatory items, all features, you can actually click this one and go ahead and take care of it with just one item, or you can do it individually. Now, AD cooling, okay, indicate what kind of cooling system you have. AE equipment, what kind of equipment you have. Whether you have a burner, stove, whatever that is applicable, just go and check those boxes because it's a required item. Exterior, same thing. You pick whatever that is applicable. Okay, whether you have a stucco wall or you have other types of exterior materials, just check appropriately. Fencing, same thing. What kind of fence do you have? Okay, is it a full fence or brick wall, whatever? Go ahead and select your item. Heat equipment, you have to say what kind of heater you have. Heat source. Now, heat equipment, the choices are so many. Sometimes you got floor furnace, sometimes you got fireplace. Check the appropriate ones. Heat source. Heat source usually gas, sometimes electricity, sometimes solar. These days you got solar, so you got to check appropriately. Okay. All right. Laundry location, if it's in the unit, indicate it's in the unit because this is where you indicate where the laundry location is. Laundry location, for example, you will say inside the community or inside the unit or in the couple, whatever the appropriate place is. And laundry utilities, is it running on gas, propane, or electricity? Just indicate that. And the pool, is it community or is it part of the house? Oh, it's talking about the pool heating feature. So is it heating on, does it heat on gas or electricity or solar? Indicate appropriately. Prop restrictions, known. Property does the property have any kind of restrictions at all? Does it have animal restrictions? If there is CC&R, most of the time condo has CC&R, you have to indicate that. Okay, whatever the appropriate restriction is. The roof, you have to indicate the type of roof. See, is it shingle or is it concrete, tiles, whatever the type. Now, usually I get my roof type from the realist text anyway. So because that's public information, I think that source is pretty reliable. Okay, and then you will indicate sales restrictions. Certain complex does not allow you to sell unless it's approved by the association or even court, especially when you're dealing with a probate listing. So you put that one in here, okay? And searchable rooms. I don't know what this is. Searchable rooms features. Okay, any other types of room you have? I don't know. Jin, do you know what searchable room is? I don't know what this is. I've never used it. Okay, and then you have to indicate whether it's on sewer or septic tank. Terms is where you indicate the commission split, I think. Oh no, this is actually the buyer's terms, whether the buyer paying cash, or would you allow the buyer to pay cash, or would you allow the buyer to get a loan? This is where you indicate it. Topography, what kind of topography you have? Is it hillside, hilly, mountainous, level? Okay, whatever the appropriate topography, you have to indicate here. And the water source is just the type of water you have. Is it private or public? Okay. All right. So we're done with this page. And notice that I only gone through the required one. So just imagine the amount of work you have to put in if you try to. Now this is not required, so usually I just kind of skip it for now, unless I have extra time. Okay. Now the fees for a management, homeowners fees, this is where you put the HOA amount. Is it 260 or 300, whatever the amount is. Other fees, for example, this one here, you can indicate whether they have any other type of fees other than HOA. For example, they may have key fees, Melrose, you have to indicate Melrose in here if that development has Melrose. The rest of it is not required, so I'll skip them. And this one here, it says enable showing scheduling. I think this has to do with showing time. If you want to use showing time to allow buyer's agent to schedule showing using showing time, you want to say yes on this. I don't know whether it's still available, but I certainly check yes to make my life easier. Remarks is where you put in the property description. You want to write up something on your listing. What are the highlights of your listing? You want to put in your remarks. You got the private remarks and the public remarks. This remarks here is for the description that you want to show up on Zillow. Private remarks is for private message that you want to leave for the agent. For example, you want to tell them that there is tenant there. Showing is by appointment only. These are things that you want to put in the confidential remark. Direction to property, yes, you certainly want to put that one in there, but they don't appear to be. Showing instruction is important. The other one that are not mandatory, you can kind of skip them. Showing instruction, you have to tell them whether it's by appointment or they have to, use the Supra. Occupy, you have to indicate whether it's vacant or somebody is occupying this place. Sentry lock, I know in SD they use sentry lock sometimes. We don't use sentry lock much in the greater Los Angeles area, but I think Jin, can you share? Do you guys use sentry locks all the time? Mandatory remark, I don't know what this is. Let's see, mandatory remarks. Oh, I see. So if it's what that means is sometimes there is an agreement between the seller and a third party about letting a third party having a right to purchase or having the right for first right of refusal before selling it to another buyer. So that's called the mandatory remarks. Okay, now let's look at mobile. 。  . 。 。 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . 。 . There are some mandatory item here. Yes, Jin said they have Sentry Lock. That's right, I know. They use Sentry Lock. I don't use Sentry Lock. No Supra, they only use Sentry Lock, okay? All right, interesting. That's what's going on with... so, Jin, if I want to show buyers property in San Diego, what do I do? They don't use Supra, so what options do I have? Of course, one of the options is to associate you and help you help out, okay? All right, that seems to be everything that I needed to talk to you about in the limited time that I have about, inputting an MLS listing in San Diego Association of Realtors MLS. Okay, if you have any more questions, you're welcome to leave messages on the. So no Supra. I can't use Supra. Okay, that's interesting. All right. Okay, that's the end of it. And let's go ahead and say goodbye. Oh, I see. So Jean said she gives a 1-day code to the agent. But how do I open the Sentry Lock though? That's the thing. Does she use an app or what do you do? All right, if you have any more questions about using, showing properties in San Diego that involves the use of Sentry Lock, feel free to contact Jin, okay? Jin is a better expert than I am to talk to you about it. All right, guys, and thank you for joining me. Have a wonderful rest of the week and enjoy your weekend. See you guys.